Welcome back. We're going to continue where we left off after setting up our initial lab. We're going to try and pwn the pwn lab underscore init machine that we got from Vulnhub. So what we're going to do is start off this particular virtual machine. We're going to require a couple tools from the internet that we're going to have to download onto Kali. So we're going to go ahead and set up a secondary interface so that we can connect Kali up to the internet when we need to and get the files that we need, and then we can switch back to our local safer network. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that Kali is in a powered off state. This will not work if it's suspended. It's not going to let you change the option here, but if we go ahead and go into the settings and we go to network, so right now we have it set up so that we're using the host only adapter so that Kali can't see the outside world. We're going to switch over to adapter 2 and enable a second network adapter, and this one's going to be a NAT adapter. So do that, hit OK, and now we can go ahead and we can start Kali normally, and we can also start our pwn lab init machine. Boarding again, this is a headless start because we're not going to mess with the login screen at all. So again, we're going to log into Kali. The default username and password is root and TOOR. If you're using Kali and surfing the web and doing a lot of stuff, you should create a different login and different password other than the defaults. But we're just using this real quick here, so I'm not too worried about it. So we're going to go ahead and open up the terminal and look at our current ifconfig. So we can see right now we are up on our local network that we had set up. We have the IP address of 192.168.56.100 assigned to us. So we're going to go ahead and do a net discover. The range of 192.168.56.0/24. That's going to scan the whole range. So what we're going to do is we're sending out ARP requests out across this range, and whatever device Rogers up and says, hey, I'm here, we're going to get the response back, and we're going to see that, hey, we've got .101. So that's the one that we expect it to be. Again, we can verify this again by looking at the settings on our the victim machine here, looking at network, looking at advanced, and the MAC address should match up between these two devices, which they do. So we know that we are targeting the correct machine now. So I'm going to hit Control C to close out the net discover process. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do an nmap to see what services we have and maybe what operating system that pwn lab machine is running. So we're going to do an nmap. I'm going to do -A as the option, and that's going to give us a service and operating system discovery, hopefully. So we're going to look at 192.168.56.101. So nmap will take a moment. Check out the nmap site sometime if you're not familiar with it. There's a whole range of options and scripts that nmap is capable of doing. So a little bit outside of the scope of what we're doing right now, but so this is what it returned. So we've got port 80, which is HTTP. So we're running an Apache HTTP server. There's the version 2.4.10. We've got the RPC services running on port 111, and we've got a MySQL server running on 3306. So this is a pretty typical web server. It's running some version of Linux, as we expected. So most likely, what we're going to get is some kind of website with some kind of web vulnerability. So we can go ahead and just open up our web browser, so Iceweasel. This is the exact same thing as Firefox, just rebranded for Kali Linux. So we're going to go ahead and just look at 192.168.56.101. And it just brings us this website here. So this website has a home screen, a login screen, and an upload screen. So it looks like by what it's saying here, you can upload and share image files inside the internet or intranet. So likely there's some kind of vulnerability that we can exploit with loading up some kind of evil image that's going to give us some access that we shouldn't have. So a good starting point anytime that you have some kind of suspected web vulnerability is Nikto, Nikto. And a warning about this is quite a noisy program here. It tests a whole range of vulnerabilities and sends out a lot of requests, so this is going to send quite a bit of requests to the web server. So if you're limited in bandwidth, or if you're trying to do a stealthy reconnaissance and discovery on this, Nikto would not be what you want to do. But right now we're checking out a virtual machine, so we're going to have at it. So Nikto TACH 192.168.56.101. Enter. Nikto takes a couple minutes usually. Since we're working locally, it's going to be pretty quick, but if you're doing something over a network connection, then it'll be quite a bit slower. So looking at the results here, there's a couple things of interest. A little bit bigger. So Nikto confirmed what Nmap had said earlier about it being an Apache server. Apache has had some vulnerabilities over the years, but there's probably something else here. So it's using PHP, so we're going to be looking for some kind of PHP vulnerabilities potentially. So config.php. So this exists. And there's a login.php. So these are both potentially interesting here. So let's go back and look and see if we can bring up this config.php. We're going to use curl here. Curl is a method for or it's a program that allows you to transfer information online. I'm going to put a link in the comments explaining some more information about curl, but very useful program. But basically we can, what we're going to use it for here is to get back HTTP information right here on the command line. So if we're integrating this to some kind of script or something in the future, curl is a really great utility for that. All right, so we're going to try curl http / 192.168.56.101, and we'll go ahead and try configure. So / configure.php and see what that, or config.php. See if that comes back. And I didn't get anything from that. So let's try index.php. There we go. So index gave us something back. Not really that great though. So we know this is a PHP based site, and I mentioned at the beginning of the video that there's potential for a local file inclusion attack here. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at, there's a PHP method that converts PHP files to, or converts stuff to base64 encoding, and then sometimes we can use that to get information out that we shouldn't be able to get otherwise, and decode that back from base64. So in order to do this, we're going to need a couple tools that's going to help make this a lot easier. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to my my other Ethernet connection here, and that's going to get me back. It's going to take me off of the lab network and put me onto the public internet. So on here, so there's a couple really great add-ons for Firefox, or in this case for Iceweasel, that'll help us out a lot. One of them is HackerBar, or HackBar, sorry. So HackBar is a really good tool that's going to help us in this case with just doing basic decoding of base64 encoding right in our browser. That's going to help us out. The other one that we're going to want is tamper data. So tamper data, that's going to allow us to mess with the cookies and do a couple other things that are going to be useful later on in this. So go ahead and install that as well. And once we have those installed, we're going to restart our browser. And then we're going to switch back to our lab network. So as you can see now, our browser looks quite a bit different. There's a lot of tools in here. I encourage you to explore this plugin. It's got quite a bit of useful stuff in there. Also, we're going to want to right-click on the top here and enable the menu bar so that we can get to the tamper data as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to curl http://192.168.56.101, and then the method, the PHP method that is vulnerable here, we're going to try, let's see, so slash question mark page equals, sorry, I'm using a foreign keyboard right now, so the key placement in the virtual machine is kind of funky. PHP ://filter / convert .base64 -encode, and then /resource equals, and then let's try that index.php, see if we can get any more information about like what's inside that index. Oh, come on. Index.php. So what did I do wrong there? Just do another index, not index.php. Oops, it was index. There we go. Bam. Okay, so now we got some more information about the underlying PHP functions on that that index page. So I'll go ahead and copy that. So right click and copy. And I'm just gonna over here paste that into or do encoding base64 decode. I'm gonna paste that right into here, and it's going to give me the decoding of that. To make this a little bit easier on us, I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to hit Control-Shift-N. That's going to open up a new terminal. I'm just going to hit LeafPad, open up LeafPad, and paste that in there. Okay. So looking at the looking at the index page here, we have some information, including the so they have the cookie here. So it's looking for a cookie and it's processing that cookie and it's including that. So language or lang. So it has a method in here they haven't implemented yet, but they're also not properly sanitizing the input. So what there should be is there should be some kind of sanitization that would look something along the lines of cookie equals, and then we would do like a string replace, and then you would want to get rid of anything that was suspicious, // So what you should have is something like this, where it checks the variable first and then looks at it and replaces anything. So that little // that's something that you use for like a file traversal. You want to get rid of, you want to sanitize your user input, but right now we're not sanitizing user input, which is a good thing for us that this was not implemented properly. So we're going to come back to that. So we know that the cookie is likely vulnerable. So I'm just going to go ahead and close that. I don't need that right now. One other thing I want to check is look at that config file that Nikto identified as being having something there. So there is something there in that config file. So we're going to go ahead and look at this and copy that. So sometimes the configuration file might have something like usernames and passwords or something along those lines. So put that in there. And bingo, we got something. So this looks like the, so we saw before that we had the MySQL server. This looks like credentials from MySQL server. So that could be very helpful to us. So let's go ahead and try and log into that and see what we get. So MySQL, so this is already installed in Kali, so this should work for you just fine. So let's see. So we're going to assign the host of 192.168.56.101, and we're going to do the username was root. We're going to have it ask for the password too once we open it. So go ahead and hit enter, and then the password, we're just going to copy paste it in there. I don't feel like typing it out on this foreign keyboard. So paste and enter, and we're in. So we know that the database was users. We could have just logged straight into users by putting that at the end of our login string here if we had to just put space users, but we'll go ahead and type use users. So that changed our database. And now we can go ahead and write show tables and see what tables. We need a semicolon there to end that. So show tables, that shows us which tables are available inside this database. So we have a users table. So let's go ahead and do a query select star from users. Oops, and semicolon. And we've got 3 users with what looks like base 64 encoded passwords. So that is very useful to us. So we're going to go ahead and open LeafPad again and We're going to copy these down so that we can go ahead and get rid of this. So let's copy this whole little thing here. Oops. Copy and go to leaf pad and paste that in there. And then again, we can use, we're going to save this just in case we need it later, which I don't think we will, but just save those credentials. It's always good to keep credentials like that saved somewhere in your notes so you don't have to go and go through the whole process of getting them again. So we're going to go ahead and do a, check this first password, so Kent. So copy that down. We're going to go a base 64 decode. Oops. Let's paste that in there. Base 64 decode. Paste. And that gives us their password. Cut that. That in there. Put it out there. Set their password. Make our little box correct again. And Kane. There we go. So we've got 3 passwords to play with. So let's go ahead and try with this Kane password. So I got that one copied to our clipboard there. Let's see if we can log in here. So Kane, so see if they reused that password between the MySQL database and this web login here. And we can. So we were able to log in, and now we have the ability to upload a file, which is very bad for the victim VirtualBox in this case. So what I want to do is make a get a reverse shell from a PHP-based reverse shell. There's a good one on PinTestMonkey that we can get. So I'm going to switch back to the internet again. And I'm going to look up PinTestMonkey PHP reverse shell. It should get us that. So PHP reverse shell on PinTestMonkey. So there's the PHP reverse shell right there. So I click on that, get it to download. And go ahead and extract that. And just extract it at home, that's fine. So we're going to show the files here. So we have PHP reverse shell. Now likely, if we try and upload that, I'm willing to bet that there's some kind of checking and it's not going to let me because it wanted a picture was what it was saying before. So PHP reverse shell, I doubt I can upload that straight like that. And not allowed extension. So we need to change the extension. So let's change this to a .gif. So a GIF. Close that. So we're gonna rename this something easier too. Our shell.gif, rename. And also want to open this with LeafPad here, make one other little change to it. And this first line here, just to be extra tricky, We're going to put GIF 98 so it reads that and it thinks that it's actually a GIF, but a very malformed GIF. So close that out. We've got our reverse shell. Oh, yeah. We also, while we're in there, so anytime that you download any kind of shellcode or anything like that from the internet, you always need to examine it first and check to see what's actually in there. PinTestMonkey is a source that I trust, but we still want to check it out. We are going to need to change a couple things in here. So we know that our IP address is not going to be 127.0.0. So we need to change back our Ethernet connection back to our closed network there, and we're going to check ifconfig, check to see what our IP address is, and it's 192.168.56.100. So we do need to change that. So 192.168.56.100, and we could even leave the port the same. 1234 works just fine for me. We're going to look at the rest of this, see if there's any other issues. So it's like there's some house cleaning stuff there to make sure we don't have zombie processes. We have the actual reverse shell, so you're messing with your sockets. That looks good, looks good. Everything here looks on the up and up, nothing malicious, and just a while loop to keep everything going there. Yeah, so everything looks good. So I'm not worried about that at all. I'll go ahead and save that. So now, let's go back to here and we're going to browse and see if we can open up this reverse shell.gif. Go ahead and upload that. And it was successful. We have a broken GIF right down here. So if we go ahead and right click on that and look at inspect element, what we want to do, so it converted it to a hash, but there's the new location of it. It's at upload / that long thing right there. So go ahead and copy that. Delete all that. All right, so there's our file. So we're going to need to execute that file. So we're going to go ahead and turn on our tools and our tamper data. Remember before we saw that the language cookie was potentially vulnerable to local file inclusion issues. So we'll start tamper and click on home and hit yes, we're going to tamper. And the cookie variable right down there. So let's go ahead and set the language cookie to equal, and then we're going to just see if this works. So equals .. So basically we're going to go back a bunch of folders, then check the etc or etc pass wd and see if that shows us anything. So now if this works correctly, we should get the hash password file should show up on the website when it'll return that, which it does, which is a good thing. So that shows that this is, yes, indeed vulnerable to local file inclusion. So we've got that. At this point, if they had SSH enabled or something along those lines, we could try and brute force these passwords here and then try and just log in that way. But they don't have that enabled, so we're just going to go ahead and see if we can get our PHP shell to fire off now. So to do that, it's going to be real similar along the same lines as that password. And also, by the way, we knew to look for this because we knew that there was a Linux system, but the same directory traversal, local file inclusion attack can work on a Windows system as well. So we're going to go ahead and hit home. And one more thing I want to check to see what kind of privileges we got. But if, so language, and then etc. See if we can see the shadow file. So the passwd file is typically world readable. It needs to be in order for Linux to function correctly, but the shadow file is typically only readable by root. So we'll see if we have root access as it is right now, and that didn't work. So we have something less than root access, which means that we'll have to do some kind of privilege escalation once we actually get into this. So we'll try one more time, do tamper. Let's see if we can get that that malicious gift to fire a reverse shell for us. So we're going to do language equals /, and then we're going to copy that this whole bit here. And one other thing before we actually hit OK and go on this, I want to open up a netcat listener. So nc tac nlvp, and then we'd said 1, 2, 3, 4 was the port that we had set it to. So now I have a listener going. So now if we get a reverse shell, it'll pop onto this window right here. So I'm going to hit OK, and it was successful. So our listener picked this up. Go ahead and see who am I.